welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to our Maserati F1 Manager series. And at the end of 2027, today's episode is going to be a recap and a review of the 2027 season we've just had. And if you're not up to date with the series, then make sure to take this moment to come away from this video and catch up on the Maserati playlist here on YouTube. You don't want to miss the previous races, especially the season finale last time out in Brazil. So make sure to check that one out, then return to this episode. And of course, to stay up to date with all of these episodes, please do subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and if you can do me a massive favor and like this video. Without further delay then, let's start reviewing this 2027 season. And if you're a regular around here, then you'll know how we do these season reviews. We'll have a look in-game and then we'll load up the database editor, see some teammate battles and where the championships were won and lost. But starting with the least meaningful championship, which was the fastest pit stop competition, we absolutely dominated that by... what's that, 350 points, 351 points, something like that. Anyway, we absolutely dominated that. We got the fastest pit stop at most races and a really good season for our pit crew. Then the constructors, we won the constructors. Then we won it with a race to spare. So we won it in Canada, the penultimate race of the season. And we claimed that constructors in the end by 26 points. Red Bull having a very good final race to close that gap. But as I say, the championship was already won. McLaren third, Ferrari fourth. They were sort of set in stone for a long time. But RB, who went on a great run towards the back end of the season, it's going to be interesting to see the database editor when we get to that, because I think RB scored in most of the last 6-7 races. They came out of nowhere, really, and they claimed fifth on the final day of the season. Audi finished sixth, just a point behind them. Williams 7th, Mercedes 8th, Aston Martin 9th, Alpine 10th, and Haas, the only team not to score in 2027. Now, as a reminder, if you've not seen that Brazil season finale, go back now before we click this drivers tab. You have been warned. And here we go. If you did see that season finale, you would know it was heartbreak. Kimi Antonelli led the championship by 8 points going into that race. He got an extra point for pole on the Saturday. So if he would have finished second, even with Max winning, he would have claimed the championship. And for most of the race, Kimi was leading. Max couldn't get past him. And even if Max were to get past him, the gap was building, a big gap to Lawson. So second looked pretty much in the bag. And the championship was looking very good for Kimi Antonelli until Max Verstappen went in to the side of Kimi Antonelli. Kimi Antonelli lost control of the car, skidding off the track. Max rejoined quickly and took the lead. Kimi, who was in the lead, dropped to fourth and lost 10 seconds to Max Verstappen. And that gap was only too much on Max, but also on Liam Lawson, one of the drivers that got past in that accident. So Max's accident, essentially, that he caused, won him the championship. Highly controversial, no penalty for Max. And really, that cost Kimi Antonelli the championship. So heartbreak for Kimi, and he has to go again in 2028. But will he have stiffer competition as Charles Leclerc joins the team as his teammate? But there we have it. Max Verstappen wins it. He is a 5-time world champion. Kimi Antonelli runner-up by 2 points. Then Franco Colapinto secured third in the championship. That's a good result for him before he moves to Mercedes for 2028. Lawson 4th, Lando Norris 5th, Oscar Piastri 6th, Russell 7th, and Charles Leclerc 8th. So 2 McLarens followed by 2 Ferraris. K-Mag in an RB finishes in the top 10. Yuki Tsunoda snuck into the top 10 on the final day in his Audi. Then we have Ollie Behrman in 11th, Pierre Gasly 12th, Gabriel Bortoletto 13th for his first season with Mercedes, beating Perez, who dropped to 17th. Lance Stroll 14th for Audi, Teo Porcher 15th, Mick Schumacher 16th in the other RB, Perez, as we said, 17th. Albon 18th, Carlos Sainz 19th, and then 3 drivers didn't score. We saw Haas didn't score, so Zayn, Maloney and Ocon. Hadjar joined them in the Alpine. And this is our personal season review then. Drivers' Championship Car 1, Franco Colapinto, as we said, finished third with 219 points. But his teammate, who he finished, nearly 150 points behind, Kimi Antonelli second in the Drivers' Championship. Maserati are the Constructors' Champions, first with 577 points. And our team rating is going up again for next year in 2028 and will be the first garage in the pit lane, of course. And this is our end of season board review. The target position in the constructors was second. We finished first and we had to score podiums in 25% of the season races. And we did it in 17 out of 9. So we had to do it in at least 5 races. We did it in 17, and that was, we had another 2 years to run on that, so we've absolutely smashed that long-term objective. This is the overall performance then. Constructors first, best drive position, as we saw. Antonelli second, team principal rating, we're up to 1,000. We're doing big things. Team rating, constructors, we're up to 721, drivers up to 78, heritage 1, and team rating up to 800. And the board confidence is high, and they inject another $1.5 million into the team. We didn't touch on the other championships, but F3, it's Lorenz van Hopen. If the MP Motorsport winning that, and MP Motorsport take the constructors. Constructors in F2 is High Tech, and the drivers champion was Jack Crawford. Right, let's jump over now to the database editor. We'll have a look at where that Constructors and Drivers Championship was won, and also our teammate battles across the grid. Okay, let's start with the Constructors then. You can see already at the top, points where we were getting sort of 30 plus points. Apart from Australia, where we struggled, we were getting 30 plus points all the way from China, Japan, Bahrain, Saudi, Singapore, before Imola, where we dropped a little bit. But as you can see across there, consistently scoring high points. Maybe a little bit of a spell here from Spain. Yeah, Spain onwards, although they dropped points there. Not really, was it? Yeah, Red Bull never really had enough, did they, to challenge for us, mainly due to Liam Lawson in that second Red Bull. So I think that's pretty convincing constructors. And then McLaren, always this sort of P3 team, weren't they, last year? And Ferrari were always P4. But really the interesting battle here is the constructors for 5th. So we said about RB scoring points at the back end, and we can certainly see that. They did pick up some points early on. They got 4 in the season opener, actually, and then they got 1 in Saudi. So they had 5 points from the opening 5 races, then didn't score for a few races. But yeah, from Austria onwards, just consistent points, apart from in the Netherlands. But apart from the Netherlands, they scored in every race. So they scored in 9 out of the last 10 races, RB, which propelled them up to 5th place. And a good points haul as well towards the back end. These last 5 races, 10 in Italy, 12 in Baku, 12 in Kota, only 2 in Canada, but then 14 in Brazil. They finished on 71 points, same as Audi, but they claim 5th in the championship. Audi really helped by an amazing first weekend. 18 of their 71 points came there. Then, early on, they looked to have the pace, didn't they? They scored good points in the first 3 races, 27 points in the first 3, but then only got another point all the way until Hungary, where they picked up 11, then 14 in Monza, and they scored the last 2 races as well. So a bit sporadic with their point scoring, and they finished 6th. Williams did score quite regularly in the first half of the season, but again, sort of dropped off in the middle, and then they did score points towards the end, at the tail end. So they finished 7th. And Mercedes, absolutely diabolical year, really, if you think about it. 25 they got in the first race, great start for them. They then get 12 in China, so 37 points out of the first 2 races. They only scored another 6 across the remaining 17 races, so a massive drop-off from Mercedes there, finishing 8th. Aston Martin, 2 in the opener, then they scored again towards the back end, so maybe improving the car again towards the back end. Alpine, no points at the beginning. They got 1 in Japan, 3rd race. Then a little scoring run in the middle, and then nothing towards the end. So that was enough for 10th, because sorry, old Haas did not score at all. So looking at the Drivers' Championship, and you can see Max Verstappen start 3 from 3 at the opening of the 2027 season. Poor opener for Kimi Antonelli, but then second places to Max's first in China and Japan. We then beat Max in Bahrain, but Max then took another 3 from 3. And again, we were runner-up in each of those before Kimi got his first win of the season in Monaco. And then we started to take a few points off him. 7 in Monaco, 4 in Spain, 11 in Austria, but he won again in Silverstone, but we again got second place. We returned the favour in Hungary, where we win and Max only finishes second. But again, we take good points off Max again in Spa and Netherlands, Italy. This is the best run for Kimi Antonelli here, isn't it, really? From Hungary through to Kota, Kimi won 5 out of 6 races and outscored him in Netherlands. So we outscored Max in 6 races in a row, but Max finished strong. 1 in Canada, we were runner-up. And then obviously we know what happened in Brazil. Well, hopefully you know. I've given you some warnings before this. But yeah, that awful incident was enough for Max to claim the championship. P3, I think this was really always Franco Colapinto's. He's quite close to his teammate early on here, part again from that poor Australian opener. But yeah, good points and a good solid final step of the podium this year, wasn't it, for Franco? How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 third place finishes. He got a win, 1 win in there, and looks like a second place in there as well. So plenty of podiums for Franco. Never enough to challenge Kimi or Max, but always enough really in the end to keep ahead of Lawson. Lawson, same sort of, was always ahead of Lando. And Lando and Oscar very close. Lando started a little bit better. And actually, for the first half of the season, that was pretty much Lando. But it's this spell here, isn't it, for Oscar? From Silverstone, Hungary, Belgium, and Netherlands, where he brought that back. And then Lando had a slightly better finish. And 2 points between the two McLarens. So very close between those two. Russell pretty much dominated Charles Leclerc, who will drive for Maserati this year. And we saw about the RBs, but most of those points for RB coming from K-Mag, who finishes 9th in the championship. And then we've got the rest of the drivers there. We can also, the database editor has also been updated now, where we can see some other stats, which is wins. So Max Verstappen in 2027 took 9 wins, Kimi Antonelli 6, Liam Lawson 2, Franco Colapinto 1, and Oscar Piastri 1. So you can see the dominance really of Max and Kimi. They won 15 out of the 19 races. Liam Lawson 2, Franco 1, and Oscar Piastri snuck in a win for McLaren as well. Poles, Max Verstappen, it was really Red Bull. Red Bull's one-lap pace was amazing. They take 14 out of the 19 poles. And randomly, the only other car to put it on pole this year was an RB in Kevin Magnussen's hands. And yeah, you wouldn't expect that. But yeah, 18 of the 19 poles were either a Red Bull or a Maserati in 2027. Podiums, and actually Kimi Antonelli gets the most podiums, a podium rate of 89.47%. He was on the podium in 17 out of the 19 races. That is tremendous work from Kimi Antonelli, but not enough to win the World Drivers' Championship. Not enough wins there. Max Verstappen, 14 out of 19. He has a podium rate of 73%. And Franco just shy of 50%. He was on 9 podiums out of 17. Lawson got 6. Then we've got the 2 McLarens. Norris with 4. Piastri with 3. George Russell picks up 2. And then again, a couple of random podiums with Pierre Gasly picking up 1. And also Sergio Perez. And championships, there's only one championship here, which is, of course, Max Verstappen, who wins the 2027 championship. Let's have a look at some teammate head-to-head battles, shall we? Right, first of all, let's do a non-teammate battle. Let's do a championship battle between Kimi Antonelli and Max Verstappen. Kimi Antonelli actually beat Max Verstappen in 10 out of the 9 races. But unfortunately, most of the time when Max beat Kimi, it was for maximum points and winning the races. So that's where the points went. Obviously, very close in points. Max Verstappen only won the championship by 2 points. Qualifying, it was the other way. That Red Bull was very quick on 1 lap, and it was 11.8 on the qualifying front. Average pace in difference. Average race pace, Max a tenth quicker and half a tenth quicker in qualifying. As I say, 2 points difference. Podiums, 14 for Max, 17 for Kimi, so more podiums. But this is the key difference, more wins. Of course, if we're beating Max and we're finishing second, Max finishes third, 18 to 15 points, we're gaining 3 points on him. Where Max is winning, for example, and we're finishing second, 25 points to Max, 18 to us. So that's a 7-point difference. Also, the pole position, doesn't say, yeah, it does say pole, sorry. Pole positions, 8, you get a point for pole in our universe when the rules change. So Max got 8 extra points for pole, and we only got 3. So that's the difference. And no DNS from either of them. I was looking at this points progression, but it doesn't actually work because the last points is showing that Max Verstappen finished on 352 and Kimi Antonelli 355. So what that's showing is without the pole points, because if you add the 8 pole points to Max, that's 363, so that's 358. So this graph, unfortunately, isn't accurate because it's not adding the extra points. So, for example, we didn't come in, I don't think. We definitely didn't have a 20-point lead following Kota. But yeah, you can still get a feel for how close it was. And this is where we would have took the championship lead here, which we did, not by that margin. And then we led going into Canada. We led going into the final race of the season, but Max Verstappen wins the championship. What about Max against his teammate Lawson? Pretty good job from Max against his teammate this year, although Lawson very close on qualifying. 16-3, Max dominates on race pace and race form, but only 10-9 in qualifying, so good qualifying pace from Lawson. The gap in race pace, 3.5 tenths, and only a tenth in qualifying. So Liam Lawson doing well in qualifying, not so much on the racecraft side. Points, 360 to Max Verstappen, 191 to Lawson, 14 podiums for Max, 6 for Lawson, 9 wins for Max, 2 for Lawson, 8 poles to Max, but also 6 good poles for Lawson, 1 DNF. How do our 2 teammates shape up then for this year? It was pretty much a demolition job, actually, when we look at this. 16-3 for races from Kimi, and 17-2 on qualifying. Didn't think it was quite that bad. Pace difference of 2 tenths in race pace, 3 tenths in qualifying. This is why we were thinking, before Franco decided to go to Mercedes, we were thinking about replacing him for 2028. And that certainly is the case with Charles Leclerc coming in next year. And I think it'll be a lot closer than what we see here. Points for Kimi, 358 over 219, 17 podiums to 9, 6 wins to Kimi. Franco did get 1 win. Franco also got 1 pole. Kimi Antonelli, 3 poles in 2027. McLaren, and this one is pretty close, isn't it? 10-9 on races between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. Oscar 10, Lando 9. Qualifying more in favour to Oscar, 13-6. What's the pace difference? 10.5 in race trim, nearly 4 tenths in qualifying. So Oscar really doing a number in qualifying, but it's actually Lando Norris that outscores him 159 to 157. 4 podiums for Lando, 3 for Oscar. A win for Oscar, only 2nd place best finish for Lando. Best quali, 2nd for Oscar, 3rd for Lando. So they are very, very closely matched, as they are in real life. Well, the Ferrari battle, and we kind of knew this from the season going on, because Charles was having a bit of a horrendous season, wasn't he? And we can see it here. George Russell, I think we do have to call it a demolition job. 15-4 on both racing and qualifying. Race pace difference of 2 tenths in favour to George. Nearly half a second in qualifying. What on earth has gone on for Charles this year? We're hoping he's just, lost faith, lost confidence in Ferrari, because that's not the kind of form we want to see in Maserati. 54 points for Leclerc, 145 for Russell. 2 podiums for Russell, none for Leclerc. Best race finish of 6th for Leclerc and 2nd for Russell. Best quali for Leclerc and 2nd for Russell. So Russell does the number on Charles Leclerc, and he'll have a new teammate next year, George Russell, if he's staying at Ferrari, because Leclerc will drive for us, Maserati, in 2028. RB then, they finished 5th in the Constructors, and mostly because of K-Mag. 16-3 in favour to K-Mag in races over Mick Schumacher. 13-6 on qualifying. Race pace difference of 2 tenths to K-Mag. 2 tenths in qualifying as well. But out of their 72 points, K-Mag got 52 of them, 20 from Mick. No podiums. Best race finish 5th for K-Mag, 7th for Mick Schumacher. But a pole for K-Mag, as we saw earlier, and a best quali for 5th for Mick Schumacher. So K-Mag really doing a number on Mick Schumacher this year. Okay, Audi and Stroll and Tsunoda. And Tsunoda had the better of it. 12-7 on the races and 11-8 on the qualifying front. Pace, oh my goodness, that is disgusting reading. 1.2 average quali difference between Tsunoda and Stroll. So Yuki is 1.2 seconds quicker in qualifying. That is disgusting reading for Stroll. And 3.5 tenths quicker in race trim as well. Yuki got 49 of the points, Lance Stroll 22, no podiums between them. Best race finish and quali of 4th for Stroll and 5th for Yuki on both of those fronts. So Stroll actually got a better race and quali finish, but Yuki Tsunoda doing the business on him in 2027. Williams then between Alexander Albon and Ollie Behrman, and Ollie Behrman comes out on top, 10-9 on race trim, so very close there, and 12-7 on qualifying. Very close on the race pace. I think that's the closest we've seen. So under a tenth quicker at Behrman. Slightly quicker in qualifying trim, though. 2.5 tenths quicker. Points, 41 of them for Behrman, 14 for Albon. No podiums. Best race finish of 8th for Albon, 5th for Behrman. 2nd best quali finish for Behrman, 8th for Albon. Quite evenly matched, but obviously in favour of Ollie Behrman coming out on top in the Williams. What about this one then? Bortoleto and Perez as teammates in the Mercedes, and this is quite close as well. 10-9 on the races for Bortoleto and 11-8 to Bortoleto in qualifying. What's the difference? Again, just under a tenth quicker Bortoleto on average in race trim. Very close in qualifying as well. So just under 300 a second. So they were very closely matched in qualifying. 26 points to Gabriel Bortoleto, 17 to Perez. 1 podium for Perez, none for Gabriel Bortoleto. Best race finish of 4 for Bortoleto, 3rd for Perez, and that's the same in qualifying. 4 for Bortoleto, 3rd for Perez, and again, a couple of DNFs each. So maybe, is that closer than the McLaren battle? Very close again. The McLaren team and Mercedes have been the closest battles so far in 2027. And over to Aston Martin, and it's Pierre Gasly coming out on top over his teammate Carlos Sainz in 2027. 13-6 in races and 11-8 in qualifying. Average race pace, nearly 3 tenths quicker is Gasly, and just over 2.5 tenths quicker in qualifying. 28 points to Pierre, 6 to Carlos, 1 podium for Pierre, none for Carlos. Best race finish of 3rd for Gasly, 7th for Sainz. 3rd is the best quali for Gasly, and that's the same for Sainz. Sainz had 5 DNFs, which is a lot, only 19 races, so he retired in over a quarter of the races, did Sainz, 2 for Gasly. So that's not helped Sainz. Wouldn't quite say it's a demolition job, but it's certainly a job well done, and Gasly comes out on top in the Aston Martin teammate battle for 2027. And Alpine again, pretty close between Isaac Hadjar and Teo Porchen. 10 to 9 for Isaac over Teo in races, but that switches over for qualifying as Teo outqualifies Isaac Hadjar 11 to 8. So what's the difference in pace? Oh, wow. That couldn't get much closer. They nearly evenly matched. 1,000th of a second quicker is Isaac Hadjar on average in race trim. But it's a little bit the other way. Well, a little bit. It's a lot the other way in qualifying because Teo was nearly 3 tenths of a quicker in qualifying. So Isaac coming alive with race pace. Alpine got 20 points last year. They all came from Teo. No podiums each. Best race finish of 5th for Teo, and that's the same for him for qualifying. Isaac Hadjar 11th, so just missed out on a point there. And best quality of 8th for Teo Porcher, also 3 DNFs. So that wouldn't have probably helped the race. So maybe with Teo not retiring, he might have just edged the race. So I think you've got to give that one with the points qualifying and taking into account the DNFs. Teo probably just coming out on top in that Alpine battle this year. And the final team, we are over to Haas, who didn't score a point last year. And unfortunately, our old teammate, Say Maloney, looks like this is one of our demolition jobs as Esteban Ocon beats him 16 to 3 in the races and 12 to 7 in qualifying. Oh yeah, and these are quite big margins, especially the race pace. 4 tenths of a second quicker Ocon, just under 3 tenths of quicker in qualifying. No points, no podiums for each of them. Best race finish 14th for Maloney, 15th for Ocon. So he did get the best race finish for Haas. Maloney, best quali 14th for Maloney, 11th for Ocon, and just 1 DNF between them that went to Ocon. But yeah, not great reading for Zane Maloney there. But that will bring this one to a close. So that is your 2027 season in review. Let me know what you think of those teammate battles. Any surprises there? And yeah, as I say, that championship, that will be a hard one to get over, but we're about to get over it because the very next episode, we will be starting 2028. We're shaking the calendar up as well. So the next episode is going to be the season opener, which is going to be in Monaco of all places. So we're going to do a European season first, or European leg of the season first. So we've got Monaco, then 2 Italian Grand Prix back to back, Monza and then Imola. So the next episode, we begin 2028. We begin it with Kimi Antonelli seeking revenge on Max Verstappen, but Charles Leclerc joining the team. Can he take the fight to Kimi? Find out as we continue this F1 Manager Series with Maserati very soon.